you fucking say, Uncle Fucker? You're an ass-licking, ball-sucking Uncle Fucker.
That's completely stupid, okay? We've all had that moment where, like, someone's being an asshole to you, and they don't exactly see why you're so angry at them for being an asshole. And then, you, like, just go off and you rail on them and you tell them everything they've been doing wrong to you over the past certain amount of time that you've been talking to that person. And, you basically just go off ramming on them, just, like, telling them just all of this stuff that they're doing wrong and why you don't like them and stuff like that. Alright, we've all had that moment before, like with our parents, with friends that are being douchebags, or people we don't like that we see every day that we have to deal with. Alright, we've all had that moment. Okay? And a lot of people are having that moment with The Last Jedi. Now, and some of that has to do with the film's promotion and, Rian Johnson's tweets and Kathleen Kennedy and some of the people at Lucasfilm who are, exacerbating the issue and not actually trying to help people come together, though I think they have learned in some way. So it's just, the whole situation with The Last Jedi has been really confusing for me, because there's just so much that I have to go through in order to try to understand every viewpoint. Alright, I understand a lot of people on the viewpoint on my side. I'm still having trouble with that because some people just switch every day. And then, we have the people on the side of the people who like the film. And, I'm still kind of having trouble with that because, some people have some good, honest opinions about it. Like, taking it at base, it's a good film on its own, despite not being a good Star Wars film. I can get behind that because there's a lot of films that I like that are part of series that generally aren't looked at fondly because they aren't good in the context of the series, but on their own is well done. So I can understand it from that perspective. There's quite a few perspectives that I do enjoy and I would like to have a debate about someday. But, with the way things have been, basically pushing around, right, everybody's been pushing each other around, whether or not they liked the film or immensely hated the film or absolutely loved it or mildly disliked it. It's like politics. If you mildly support someone with whom someone else disagrees, you're ousted as a bigot or a Nazi or a liberal or a socialist or something like that. And when you if you're like, there were things I like about The Last Jedi, but overall I really didn't think it was a good movie, then you're ousted as, a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, and blah, 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 and that you don't know what good writing is, and people are name-calling you because you just didn't like the film. Alright, and you have an honest, concise view of it. So it's just really hard to really analyze things because people are just being dicks to each other, and the more people are just being dicks to each other, then the more and more then that we're just going to get divided, not only culturally but also in terms of the fandom. Yeah, those movies were pretty bad. I'll give them that.
Yeah, okay. And Ray's parents, just don't set it up like this. Again, this isn't me as a crazy fan where I'm trying to think of ideas and I'm in my own head here. That was the whole point of The Force Awakens. That was not the whole point of the entire film.
Bullshit. They set it up. They put a lot of clout and mystery into her parents. They literally built that up from the first scene they introduced Rey. So saying that The Force Awakens did not set up Rey's parentage as some big thing is an absolute straw man. Not only that, extremely stupid in the context of the situation.
Not even close. There was a lot of stuff going on in that film. You had Kylo, you had Snoke, you had Han and Leia, the history of Luke and Kylo, Finn not being a stormtrooper anymore, and Phasma and Hux.
You had all those things. but they were more of side priorities. You didn't see Han and Leia until like an hour was left in the film at least, or at most actually. And, you know, you had Kylo. That was still that was still a somewhat sidestep. I mean, yeah, he was still the bad guy, but he still didn't do much on screen except kill a bunch of villagers and scream a lot. That's it. And along with killing Han Solo and having that whole fight in the Force, but to be honest with you, those didn't come off with the importance of that, of, like, you know, Rey. Rey was set up to be something really big in the context of the universe. You know, it's like getting that lightsaber, right? So, like, we had been following her for a while. You've seen her do so many amazing things. It was already setting things up from the get-go, and you knew all this stuff about her parents, and she wanted to go back to Jakku. We focused so much on that. Alright, and yeah, I will also concede that we also focused a lot on Finn, but we focused more on Rey as a person. You got to empathize more with her than I think with any other character, because the film focused much more on her than it did with anybody else. Yes, you had the whole stuff with the First Order and crap, but that stuff wasn't extremely explained at all. Like I said, this is a big world-building problem that these new films have. We aren't given the context of everything, so we're having to make things up on our own in order to try to get the gist of it, and even then, it's not exactly true because extended media. But then the extended media is something that we're not going to get because you know, it costs like $20 or something. Or it costs $10 a copy. Whatever. It's just like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was going on in The Force Awakens, but with a lot more context, the film could have been good. Not good. The film could have been great. Like, it could have been really good if it just had a lick of context in regards to everything that was going on. Sadly, the film did not give us that context. And it was in a misguided, and that arguably was misguided because, you know, they didn't want the film to be like the prequels, but like Maj0r said, politics is a part of world building. You have to set things up. Like, that's something you absolutely have to do. So it's just like, I don't get what you're saying here. It's like, I just don't get what you're saying here, dude. I really don't. I really don't.
Oh, and then to just sort of blow it off that way, you blow it off by introducing the most relatable theme this series has ever had by saying...
No. Rey didn't lose a fucking hand. Rey didn't fight in these big, huge, large-scale battles to decide the fate of the galaxy, to save a planet, to save the rebellion. She didn't really fight that much as Luke did. She didn't fight as much as Anakin did, and depending on whether or not you liked or disliked the prequels, Anakin had a lot more development in that sense. Luke had a lot more development in that sense. He had a hell of a lot more development in that sense than Rey did. Rey was just there. She didn't take out the Super Death Star. Freaking Luke took out the Death Star in the first movie. He took out the Emperor by himself. Well, arguably he had some help from Darth Vader too, but he resisted the call of temptation from, you know, Darth Sidious to be be a Darksider. Alright, he didn't kill his father. He saved his father from a future of darkness, despite him being a literal mass murderer. And it was all because he was his father. You know, Luke was just this optimistic, hopeful character. He was, you know, he was the hero of the hero's journey. I don't know why. This point just keeps coming up to me. Rey is not that relatable of a character. Looking at her consistently, she is not that relatable of a character to me. And to a lot of people out there. And there's a lot of reasons for that. For one thing, she's just there half the time. Top that off, I I think I found a reason as to why a lot of people think she's a Mary Sue, and this came up also in Maj0r's Last Jedi critique, that he was talking about the code breaker that they found on Canto Bight. That wasn't the one they were looking for, and that basically he was a writing tool because the writer put himself in a corner, and then they decided to, and then they created this character, and they could do all these sorts of things, and that's how they could get them out of the situation without actually giving any context as to what they were, you know, everything like that, and not actually trying to build things up in a consistent way. I think that's what Rey is to me. To me, Rey is what Maj0r says, is a literary Swiss Army knife. She does everything without the context. She's there as a tool because the writer put him or herself in a hole, and they need to get out of it, and that's why Rey was able to do so many things in The Force Awakens, like pilot the Millennium Falcon, use the Force to get the lightsaber out of the snow, and all that crap. And did, you know, fight better than Kylo Ren in her first lightsaber duel with someone that wasn't Kylo. Well, fighting someone that wasn't Kylo. So it was jarring. It still is jarring, right? And you can use that all you want to say that she's a Mary Sue, but honestly, she still had a gleam of character, but the only way that she had character was through the visage of her parents. She didn't have any major flaws because of that, except for maybe being naive. That honestly was it. She was just naive, and she wanted her parents. That was the only way she was really relatable. Alright, but she wasn't that Rey Ayanami type of naive charm that she gave in Neon Genesis Evangelion, where she was, you know, a mindless. She was just basically a clone. She just did whatever Gendo Ikari told her to do, but through time and, you know, development of her character, she became more than that. She actually had more human emotion. She grew to love the people, to care about the people she was fighting with in the conflict that they were in. But in this movie, she's not interacting with side characters a lot like Luke did. She's not, you know, like I think the only characters Rey really has talked to in regard to, like, the higher ups has really just been Leia. It really has just been Leia. And, like, you know, I know she talked to Han and stuff, but to be honest with you, the only person that Rey really talked to was Leia. Like, nobody else really talked about Rey except Poe and Finn apparently didn't know her, but even though Finn had to have known her before The Last Jedi, because, you know, they kind of had that whole thing where Rey was going to go find Luke. But, like, no real minor character talked about Rey as she was something big. Or have them, like, interact throughout the film. Like, you know, Wedge from the original trilogy, the guy who was, like, you know, the kind of, like, not really sidekick to Luke in terms of, like, fighting in the sky, fighting in space battles or on a ship. Like, he was someone that Luke interacted with a lot in A New Hope towards the end of that movie when they were on the run to blow up the Death Star. Like, they interacted a lot. Luke interacted with a couple side characters a lot in, you know, the Empire Strikes Back, too. You know, I didn't do it as much in Return of the Jedi because his story didn't really intersect that much with the rest of the Rebellion. He still had much more of a range of depth because you could also see him not only as a leader, but as a friend. Oh, yeah, but wait, I just forgot. Wedge and Luke hugged after Luke won the fight, after the Rebellion won the fight against the Empire at Endor. What has Rey really done with any other side character? Literally nothing. Because there's no other side character. Poe isn't a side character. He was a POV character. He was a main guy in this film. Like, the main guy. Like the main guy that we saw on the Raddus. He was the person that we had to care about when we were looking at the Raddus. So, but, I mean, it's just like, she didn't even interact for Rose, for Christ's sake. Like, she just sees her lying down on a bed on the Falcon after like Foe brings her there, and just looks at her and is like, oh, wonder how that happened, and that's it. She isn't given a wide range of relatability because we don't get to see her interact with a lot of people except for the other main characters. But one of the things I think that can make a character really feel good and invested in the context of the world is have them interact with the side characters. Like, this is something that Halo does very well. Halo Combat Evolved. Like, you were able to interact with your Marines. You weren't able to, like, talk to them. But, like, when you walk next to a Marine, they were like, oh my god, it's a Mark V. And stuff like that. It's like, oh, I didn't know there was a Spartan on board. And, like, their demeanor changes from being so serious, but like, holy crap, this is awesome. We have the Chief on our side. No one says this in regards to Rey. She's literally just there. Alright, she's not like the Master Chief in that sense, alright? And I think that's what some people can kind of make in that analogy with Rey, is that she's kind of like a different take on the Master Chief, or like Samus Aran in some cases, but like they're not given that type of relatability because we just don't see them interact with a lot of people, and that's kind of sad, to be honest with you. Like, it just doesn't feel right to me. Is the point I'm trying to get at. Rey doesn't feel like a genuine character. She isn't given time to grow and develop on screen. Like, the only thing she was able to really grow from was her parents, and she had to do that twice because Rian Johnson doesn't know anything about series continuity whatsoever. Because remember, in The Force Awakens, she kind of brushed off her parents. That's it. Oh, wait a minute. And let me correct that minor character thing. The only minor character she really did actually interact with was Maz Kanata. But that's it. That's really it. Alright. And yeah, you can say the guy who stole the Millennium Falcon and, you know, was kind of keeping her as a slave. Like, you can kind of say that, yeah, he was kind of a minor character too, but, like, you know, that was kind of more of a set thing in the context of the universe and, you know, her story and the setting that she was in. But that's not the same as, like, having someone like Wedge to be around, or like having like the UNSC Marines to fight with in that sense. But just Rey just isn't really given any real room to grow. And, you know, it's like she doesn't have any real character flaws other than her being naive and wanting to find her parents. Alright, and she doesn't really grow from her naive state of mind. And that's kind of sad. Like, she doesn't have any real realizations about the outside world and stuff like that. Like, she's not having these conflicting feelings from being, like, you know, acting like a kid who doesn't know any better about certain things. And, you know, progressing into this really hard and focused mind as an adult fighter. And, you know, that kind of kills it for a lot of people and for me.
Yeah, she's a nobody, and you can achieve greatness even if you come from nothing. Ugh, so terrible. Rian Johnson uses that. It's so disappointing, so underwhelming, so unlikable. Luke should be liked as a character. Also, because all those diehard fans of the originals, the likes reinforcement are being depleted. Know what they think it should be like. What the stories become dear to their hearts. Did you not see the announcement on StarWars.com back in 2014 where they said very openly that episodes 7, 8, and 9 will not tell the same story as the expanded universe?
That doesn't mean they can accept that. Are you kidding me? A lot of people were very much upset that the expanded universe not only was canceled, but would not actually have a relevant part of the Star Wars saga. Granted, they've actually made some steps to try to remedy that. They have tried to put some more take more stories from the EU and kind of fit it into the perspective of the new trilogy and that whole thing. But to say that because a lot of people wanted to see Luke become the guy that he was in the expanded universe means that their arguments are basically null and void? What? 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 Dude, all people wanted was to see a more yeah, you know, their interpretation of Luke. A lot of people really read the EU, okay? I knew about the EU, and I didn't even read a single damn book in the EU, except for the Jedi Apprentice novels and maybe a couple spin-off ones here and there of some minor side stories that didn't really add up to anything, but were kind of interesting in their own right. But, like, a lot of people love the EU. And a lot of people still love the EU. And Disney realizes that. And they realized that they kind of screwed the pooch on that when it came to that type of stuff. But just to come out and say that because a lot of people love the EU, that disregards their entire argument when it comes to characters like Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, or Han Solo. And top that off with the announcement that maybe Mara Jade is going to be in the new movie, and, you know, Luke Skywalker is going to be back in this movie, maybe not dead. I think that means what you wanted isn't going to come out of it. I think you'd be rather pissed about it too. Don't pull this double standard bullshit on me, because you're not going to get away with it.
What do you think? They were just kidding? Now I see the problem. Did you forget that you're watching the sequel trilogy where Luke is no longer the most powerful Jedi ever? You better get past that because we're 2 movies in already.
Okay, that's it. That's fucking it. That is fucking it. You do not realize why Luke became a cultural icon. You know absolutely nothing about what made Luke what Luke was to so many people out there. You have such a fundamental misunderstanding of the character of Luke Skywalker, and it just baffles me. It just baffles me how unself-aware you are when it comes to this type of shit. You absolutely know fucking nothing about Luke Skywalker. This man, the most optimistic, hopeful person in the universe, fought through adversity time and time again, and not only helped save the galaxy from the reign of the Emperor, but was able to save his father from the brink of the dark side. He was able to turn him away from something that had basically ruined his fucking life. Alright? And yes, he had some things that were kind of left unexplained, and that could have been, you know, forced through better in the movies, but that was kind of the fault of the fact that the 80s were a different time when it came to writing. Yeah, it's not a great excuse, but, you know, it's better than nothing. Luke was such a cultural icon because he showed you that through training, like Avatar Aang, through training, you could do so many good things in the world. You could do so many good things out there. And then just to throw it all away and say that Rey is the most powerful being in the galaxy, be giving one singular lesson, and that, you know, makes everything so much better. Yeah, you have no idea not only what Star Wars is when it comes in terms of relation to the characters, you have no idea who in the hell Luke Skywalker is and what made him a cultural icon in the first place. You are a fucking moron. Okay, 14:42 is the time step, so I'm going to stop it here. I got through 3 minutes and 40 seconds into this one. I am mad as fuck, and I need to go to bed because I'm tired of shit. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed these next 2 parts. I will see you guys later on the next one. So anyway, yeah, don't die, please. Please don't.